Hello and welcome to the video, where we'll be going over the 7 best books on time management. Now what I've done inside this video are take what I think are the best books on time management. I've recommended them to you, but I've also pulled out some of the best quotes from those books that I think are the best on time management. It's going to be perfect if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner looking to get the most out of not only your time, but the time of your team, or if you're an employee who's looking to help lead teams or potentially manage your own time. Now, before we get into the video, let me quickly introduce myself. My name's Ethan Schwant. I'm an entrepreneur and a coach, and I do YouTube videos just like this that are book lists with quotes pulled out that are the best books on a certain topic. I also create in-depth mind map videos that go over one book very in-depth and pull out some of the most important points and present them in a mind map format so that you can learn your best. I create these videos every single weekday, so consider subscribing. And with all that out of the way, we'll get into our first book, which is Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. Get more of the important things done today. What a great title, Eat That Frog. Some of the quotes that I pulled from this book include, one of the very worst uses of time is to do something very well that need not to be done at all. And that's so the truth. So often we focus on doing an incredible job on something that would be best left undone. He also says in that book, if you have to eat 2 frogs, eat the ugliest one first. What a picture, what an image. This is another way of saying that if you have 2 important tasks before you, start with the biggest, hardest, and most important task first. And he uses the analogy of a frog, of eating a frog, to illustrate some of the tasks that we might need to do. He goes on to say that you cannot eat every tadpole and frog in the pond, but you can eat the biggest and ugliest one, and that will be enough, at least for the time being. Some great insight from Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. Now, book number 2 is the Checklist Manifesto. It's one of my favorites on the list. It's by Atul Gawande, and I actually just did a mind map video that I'll link down below on this book specifically. So some of the great quotes that I pulled out of this book include, we don't like checklists. They can be painstaking. They're not much fun. But I don't think the issue here is mere laziness. There's something deeper, more visceral going on. When people walk away not only from saving lives, but from making money, it somehow feels beneath us to use a checklist, an embarrassment. It runs counter to the deeply held beliefs about what the truly great among us, those who we aspire to be, handle situations of high stakes and complexity. The truly great are daring. They improvise. They do not have protocols and checklists. Maybe our idea of heroism needs updating. And he's talking about that in a specific point in the book where he talks about how all heroes really have checklists. The final quote from this book are, under conditions of complexity, not only are checklists a help, they are required for success. And I would say that they're required for successful time management. Now moving on to book number 3. SCRUM, the art of doing twice the work in half the time. This is perfect if you're on a team or you're leading teams. Some of the great quotes from this book are, multitasking makes you stupid. Doing more than one thing at a time makes you slower and worse at both tasks. Don't do it. If you think this doesn't apply to you, you're wrong. It does. Now, are you multitasking potentially right now? Are you multitasking at points in your life when you shouldn't be multitasking? Take up a new habit of single tasking, focusing on one task until completion. They also say no heroics. If you need to be a hero to get things done, you have a problem. Heroic effort should be viewed as a failure of planning. I love that. Planning ahead is so important. And you have to plan that you won't need any heroic efforts from you or from your team. The people who multitask the most just can't focus, and I believe that's the truth. That absolute alignment of purpose and trust is something that creates greatness. Very great book. I recommend you read it. I'll leave a link down below. Now moving on to the next book. Book number 4 is Organize Tomorrow Today by Dr. Jason Selk. 8 ways to retrain your mind to optimize performance at work and in life. Some really great quotes from this book. We've got, greatness is predicted on consistently doing things others can't or won't. Simply put, success is not about being brilliant. It's about being consistent. And the final quote is, Before going to bed, they take a few minutes to read over the mathematical or literary work they did during the day, especially if they've reached a plateau or feel stuck. The mind then works all night to close the loop, and they wake up in the morning with inspiration. It seems magical, but it isn't so magical as it is the result of effective priming of the mental pump. The OTT principle and prioritization with a list. Here comes back to a list again, and priming your brain to do some of the work that you need to do overnight. I really enjoy doing this, and I really would recommend you check out this book. Now moving on to our next book, The One Thing. The Surprising, Simple Truth Behind Extraordinary Results by Gary Keller. I love this book. I've also done a mind map on this one. I'll leave a link down below. One of the great quotes from this book is, "It's not that we have too little time to do all the things that we need to do. It's that we feel the need to do too many things in the time that we have." Isn't that just so true? We often are overcommitted with the amount of time that we have available. He also says that work is a rubber ball. If you drop it, it will bounce back. The other four balls, family, health, friends, integrity, are made of glass. If you drop one of these, it will become irrevocably scuffed, nicked, or perhaps even shattered. Something very important to keep in mind, that when you are trying to get the most out of your day, don't get the most out of your work day at the expense of your family, health, friends, and integrity. Gary also says a life worth living might be measured in many ways, but the one way that stands above all is living a life with no regrets. The final part, your next step is simple. You are the first domino, and that goes through Gary's entire philosophy of setting up dominoes and just simply knocking over the smallest one to create a chain reaction that can be quite powerful. With that said, we'll move on to our next book, which is The 15 Secrets Successful People Know About Time Management. The productivity habits of 7 billionaires, 13 Olympic athletes, 29 straight A students, and 239 entrepreneurs. It's quite a lot of successful people. Some of the great quotes from Jack Kruse are, "If you aren't busy working on your own goals, you'll be working to achieve somebody else's goals." It's kind of the entrepreneur manifesto. He says, "Actually, highly successful people don't think about time much at all. Instead, they think about values, priorities, and consistent habits." I found so often when people are trying to control the time that they have in the day, as opposed to controlling those values, priorities, and consistent habits, they end up running themselves into the wall, working longer and longer and longer hours, trying to achieve the same thing that could have been accomplished much easier had they just focused on those three more important things: values, priorities, and consistent habits. He also says that highly successful people take immediate action on almost every item that they encounter. It's not important to manage your time if you're continually getting all the tasks done in front of you as soon as they need done or as soon as they come to your attention. He says that you need to start paying other people to do stuff for you even before you feel you're ready. And I can tell you as an entrepreneur that is absolutely the truth, and I found that to be quite fascinating. The way that you can build your business so much quicker by just simply paying a few people to do some of the more simple tasks that you have to do on a daily basis, to free yourself up a little bit more time, to manage your time a little bit more effectively, and to point yourself towards some of the more important things that you should be doing. Now, our final book, book number 7, is The 80-20 Principle. The Secret to Achieving More with Less by Richard Koch. Some of the quotes from this book include, "Those who seize the day become seriously rich." Doesn't sound nice. The way to create something great is to create something simple. And the whole kind of point of the book is 80% of the products or customers or employees are only contributing 20% of the profits. That there is great waste, that the most powerful resources of the company are being held back by a majority of much less effective resources, that profits could be multiplied if more of the best sort of products could be sold, employees hired, or customers attracted, or convinced to buy more from the firm. That is the essence of the 80-20 principle, of Pareto's principle. And you can use that in your time management as well. 20% of your activities are producing 80% of the results. How can you cut the 80% and focus more deeply on that 20% that is your highest leverage activities? Now, with all that being said, I recommend that you go and check out those books, and especially the links down below to some of the mind maps that I've done. Again, my name's Ethan Schwant. It was great to have you on the video today. I create YouTube videos, book lists just like this, so consider subscribing. And if you want to support the channel, there's courses and coaching available at the links down below. Thanks so much for being with me, and I hope you check out some of the videos down below.